Late good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Brian Bridges Show. Welcome to the Brian Bridges Show, you all. Hosted by God First, Christ Gang Media News. Hosted by God First, Christ Gang Media News. Y'all come on in for a brief moment. Got a very sad, strange, and bizarre case for you all today out of Hughes, Maryland, you all. Out of Hughes, Maryland. And today, typically and mostly, I want to talk about conflict resolution, you all. To agree to disagree on certain things, you all. Like I said, man, this is a very sad and strange case. And before I get off to this particular case, condolences to Ariana Davis, you all. She was the 10-year-old girl who was initially having a funeral, you all. Why this man, Mr. Wilson, who is a funeral home owner, actually pulled out his weapon and killed her cousin, you all, which was the pallbearer of this particular case. Like I said, this was a very strange and sad case, you all, because, like I said, man, you are at a funeral, paying your respects to the dead. And, then you have all this argument and chaos going on uh, with a man who is supposed to be well respected of the dead. He's supposed to kind of understand what the family is actually going through at this particular moment in time. But instead of him paying respects and giving condolences to this family, he decided to handle an ongoing dispute that he had with some other funeral company, you all. Now, mind you, again, this man is the funeral owner. He is a funeral owner. And should kind of understand again, you all. He should definitely understand what it is to pay respects to the dead. More so what it is for grieving families. Especially when losing a loved one. You all. So again, condolences to Ariana Davis. She was a 10-year-old girl who was shot on Mother's Day. You all, by a stray bullet on Mother's Day in Northeast Washington, D.C., you all. So again, this was a very, very bizarre case, and I want to give condolences first to her and also to the pallbearer, who was his cousin, who was her cousin, you all, Mr. Ronald Steve Banks, you all. Mr. Ronald Steve Banks was the cousin of the young lady who was actually killed, you all. So he was not only paying his respects at the funeral, but he was also helping out, helping to put his little cousin in the grave, doing something that big cousins do, you all. I don't know if, how many of you all, I hate funerals, you all, to be exact. I had done lost so many loved ones until it's unreal, you all. Again, it kind of makes me, sad in a lot of ways because, again, to actually lose a loved one and to be going through so much pain, I can definitely sympathize with the family. And like I said, in dealing with my own losses, you all, now, it was a time, once upon a time, I didn't know how to properly do some conflict resolution. I didn't. Pretty much know how to deal with certain things, and I thought that I should actually take matters into my own hands, you all. So, but this is something that is a very dangerous thing to do, and it's something that's not well thought out, might I say. Like I said again, this is a very sad case because this particular man, he owns a funeral home, and he decided to go settle an ongoing dispute with another funeral company that may have been performing at this particular little girl's funeral, you all. And I'm pretty sure that he was under the impression that his little company or his funeral home, might I say, should have been given this particular job, you all. Again, mind you, Hughesville is in Maryland, and it only has a population of about 3,000 people, you all. So it is a small place, and I did try to look up Mr. Wilson Chavez's funeral home, things of this nature. But again, the population is so small, it's not many pictures out there. I tried to look on Facebook and a few other Twitter and a few other places to kind of see if I can actually find Mr. Wilson's funeral home, so forth and so on, you all. Again, this was uh, very crazy thing to do, you all. It's a time and a place for everything. Again, I said it's a time and it's a place for everything. Even handling disputes and things of this nature, you all. And a funeral is not a place to handle any kind of conflict, any kind of disagreement, especially business deals, so forth and so on, you all. Like I said, we have to have more respect as a people, and he should have had a lot more respect as a funeral home owner, you all, might I say. Uh, at least have respect for the grieving families. And this is what caused a lot of chaos this particular day, you all. So before I get off into this particular story, if you are now just joining me for the first time, I usually read a news article and kind of give you a better description of what's actually being showed on the news, you all. And I also do also share news clips as well. But I kind of like to read. It helps my reading, and it helps other people who may want to follow on can actually hit the news clip or the link below, in which I always add in the description and follow along with me, you all. So again, before I get off into this particular story, copyright disclaimer under Title 17 USC Sections 107. Allowances made for fair use purposes such as criticism, comments, news reporting, teaching scholarships, and research. Fair use is permitted by the copyright statute and might otherwise be infringed. Non-profit education and personal use tips to balance in favor of fair use. It tips to balance in favor of fair use, you all. So again, before I get off into this news story, you all, I want to kind of discuss conflict resolution. And this is something. Conflict resolution is the process of ending a dispute, you all, and reaching an agreement that satisfies all parties in the dispute. So, conflict resolution is something that you may engage in. You may have a disagreement with somebody, but you trying to reach a common ground of understanding, a common ground where not only yourself but the people that you are disputing with can all have a basic agreement, can all have a basic understanding, can all be satisfied with the solution given to solve the problem at hand, you all. So this is something that should be taught in school, that we should acknowledge and try to deal with, you all. Try to come up with some ways to handle things that you may not agree with, things that may be upsetting to you, things that you may not understand, business disagreements, so forth, so on. Again, it's a time and place for everything, and this man had no right at all to barge in someone else's funeral with a business dispute, you all. So again, this was a very sad and crazy thing to actually see happen, you all. So I kind of want to go over this particular story with you all tonight. So again, this was a sad and strange one, you all. But I'm gonna get straight off into it, as I have already read my copyright disclaimer, you all. So it says, funeral company owner fatally shots a pallbearer before burial service for a 10-year-old shooting victim, police say, you all. So again, this was here. Here we go. The owner of the funeral company has been charged with murder after police say he shot and killed a pallbearer before a burial service for a 10-year-old girl at a Prince George County, Maryland cemetery, you all. It says Wilson Chavez, 48, of Hughesville, has been charged with first and second-degree murder in the shooting death of 30-year-old Ronald Steve Banks, you all, of D.C. Prince George's County Police said in a news release Wednesday the shooting happened about 1:20 p.m. Tuesday and at a Washington National Cemetery on Shootland Road, you all. It says shortly before the burial service for the 10-year-old Ariana Davis, the girl was struck by a stray bullet while riding home in the backseat of a car in Northeast DC on Mother's Day, you all. And she died again. This little girl died 7 days later after she was shot. So again, this was a very sad thing for her family to have to go through, you all, especially when you have a child that's shot or harmed on Father's Day or Mother's Day or something of this nature, you all, it's very, very sad and hurtful, very hurtful to the family, Like I said, this family was going through enough, you all, losing the life of their 10-year-old child. Then again, for this man to come out of nowhere, again, a funeral home owner, and actually be trying to solve a dispute in the middle of a funeral service, you all. This is one of the wildest things that I have heard of. But again, this man had done this, you all. So again, let me finish reading this story because this one is kind of upsetting and thorough to me, you all. So again, it said police said Chavez owns the funeral company that was providing the burial service for the Davis family. So again, they said that he owned the funeral service that was providing this particular service for this family. It said while the service was preparing to get underway, Chavez confronted two people at the service who worked for another funeral service company, you all, with which Chavez apparently had a long-standing business dispute, police said in a news release, you all. So again, it said according to the charging documents in the Prince George's County District Court, one of the people Chavez allegedly confronted was a pastor leading the service, you all. As mourners were preparing to gather around the gravesite, Chavez pushed the pastor and said, "This ain't your effing funeral home, you all." And said, according to the charging documents, police said several funeral attendees became upset with Chavez and confronted him over his behavior. I mean, rightfully so. He's being belligerent at someone else's funeral, you all. And again, he lashed out to a pastor. The pastor, I'm pretty sure he was getting, maybe he was getting paid, or maybe he was doing this service out of the kindness of his heart, you all. But he was up here giving a eulogy or whatever, and paying his respects to this family and trying to conduct the funeral service, you all. So again, I guess his beef was with this particular pastor, but I mean, how could it have been when somebody had to do it? He was a pastor, and it's only 3,000, just below 3,000 people of population in this particular city. You all, so again, this is a very small city. I'm pretty sure they may have 3, 4, 5 pastors in this particular city, if you ask me, you all. But again, this man was chosen by the family of the child to have this service, you all, and this is something that he was actually doing while this man, Mr. Wilson, had became upset, you all. So again, it said Chavez, who was beginning to back up, tripped over the concrete vault lid near the gravesite and fell to the ground. So again, this man was in an argument, began to lash out at the pastor. May have got pushed, may have just tripped, you all. But from the reports, everybody out there saying he tripped and fell, bounced up with the pistol and started firing out, baka, 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 baka. For what? I mean, for what? I mean, I mean, this is not the way to handle no dispute. I don't know if he was trying to add some more bodies to the funeral home collection or what he was actually trying to do. But I'm pretty sure that he regret this decision to this day, you all, because again, this is very sad and disrespectful, man. It's just something that you don't do at nobody's funeral. You hear people doing drive-bys at funeral and things of this nature. Man, there is a God in heaven, man, and this is not the place to have any kind of conflicts whatsoever. You all, if you ask me. And said again, you all. So Mr. Chavez had fell, tripped over maybe some kind of burial plot or something, you all. And I'm pretty sure he was under the impression that he had been pushed, you all. But this is no justification to kill anyone. This is no justification to pull out a pistol at a funeral site and go to busting at people. This is something that's crazy and strange, if you ask me, you all. It said that's when the police said Chavez pulled out his gun and fired 2 shots, striking Banks, who was serving as a pallbearer, and a woman who suffered a graze wound, you all. Chavez then fled the cemetery in a vehicle before being pulled over several minutes later by an officer with the Morningside Police Department and was taken into custody, you all. So again, it said Banks was rushed to the hospital where he died. It said the woman was taken to the hospital to be treated, but her injuries were not life-threatening, police said. It said during the news conference on Tuesday at the cemetery, a Prince George County police official initially said the 2 who were shot were not directly related to the funeral of the 10-year-old girl, you all, and that the shooting was totally independent on that. So again, you all, this pallbearer was the cousin of this young lady, you all, and again, he decided to play a special part in this funeral, you all. It's sad when you have to choose pallbearers for a family member. I've been a pallbearer a few times in, funerals for family members and things of this nature. You all, this is a honorable thing to do. Quite honorable. So again, this is very sad to me for Mr. Banks to lose his life under these type of circumstances when you are actually at a funeral trying to help someone else. You are trying to pay respects for when your day actually comes. And then here you go, this man loses his life while paying the respect of the life of another person, you all. Again, this was very sad and strange to me. So this was something that I had hoped to cover well, you all. It said Banks was rushed to the hospital where he died. The woman was taken to the hospital where she was treated, but injuries were not life-threatening. It said a Prince George County police official excuse me, you all had pretty much lost my place. It said Chavez is currently in custody of the Prince George County Police Department Corrections, and anyone with information is asked to call the detectives, you all. So again, this was a very sad and strange case, one that I'm pretty sure that this man will actually regret and pay for the rest of his life. You own a funeral company. This was a very dumb thing to do. Not thought out at all. And one thing when you are in um, heated confrontation, when you're going somewhere to initiate an argument, it's not a good thing to actually bring a weapon, you all, because that increases your chance of likely losing using this particular weapon by 80%. It's an 80% chance you may shoot somebody. You know, if you upset and not in your right mind and think you just gonna charge somebody up over a business dispute. Behind business is money. So, this is another thing, that I'm pretty sure that infuriated the man, but it was very disrespectful thing to kind of handle a business dispute at someone else's funeral. You got all day to handle this kind of these kind of disputes, and why not handle it at your office? I'm pretty sure that you had an office somewhere at the funeral home, this is, like I say, this was a very bad decision and thing to do for this man to take the lives of these individuals. So, again, also condolences to the family of Mr. Ronald Steve Banks, you all. Again, he is gone, but I'm pretty sure that he it will never be forgotten, you all. Again, it is my prayers, and my prayers go out to the family members as well. I do have a brief news clip that I can share with you all in regards to this same incident, you all. So, y'all bear with me one moment as I get this together for y'all. That erupted yesterday at the funeral for an innocent 10-year-old killed. The man killed is now identified as a pallbearer at the funeral. Another woman was also grazed by a bullet. Stephanie Ramirez, first on scene yesterday, is live at the courthouse with what she is learning today. Of course, people outraged by what went down, especially this family who was grieving.
Absolutely, Sharon, and I can tell you today, Prince George's County Police are saying that this shooting had to do with a long-standing business dispute between two different funeral services, and they did announce today that they've arrested and charged the owner of the funeral home that was actually providing yesterday's funeral service for the 10-year-old. That person has been identified as 48-year-old Wilson Wesley Chavis, and he is also identified in court documents as the owner of Compassion and Serenity Funeral Home. He's now facing charges that include first and second degree murder. Witnesses told us shots rang out. At around the time, family and friends were called to gather around the casket. Well, police said that at the cemetery, Chavis allegedly confronted two people with another funeral service, one of them the pastor there yesterday. Attendees then confronted him for disrespecting the family. Then court documents say Chavis backed up, tripped over the concrete vault lid on the ground next to the grave and fell. And as he landed, immediately pulled a pistol from his waistband, allegedly firing one shot that hit the pallbearer. And then he also allegedly fired a second shot as he stood grazing a woman in the arm with a bullet. Now, we've been seeing messages of condolences and prayers that pallbearer.
Like I said again, man, it was a very dumb thing to do. Very sad, immature, disrespectful, just all around flat out stupid. If you ask me, this is something that you will pay for the rest of your life. It was not a smart thing to do. You didn't even come around the funeral with a suit on. A nice shirt and tie. It didn't have to be a suit and some dress slacks. You wasn't even dressed professional. You came with beef on your mind. You came, you know, to antagonize people, to try to start some confusion, and this is again a funeral. Is not the place to handle any kind of business dispute. Again, there was a family out there that was grieving from the loss of their actual child. Man, this is was very a very stupid thing to do. Again, you all. I didn't want to hold everybody too long. Just wanted to kind of come on here and pay a special condolences to, again, Mr. Ronald Steve Banks, you all, who was the pallbearer. This is a very honorable thing to do at any funeral, you all. So, again, condolences also to Miss Ariana Davis, you all. Again, she was the 10-year-old girl who's actually having the funeral that this silly man decided to have these actions at you all. So again, I'm asking that everybody reach a special prayer out for their family and condolences again, you all. So God first, Christ gang. Peace. We out, you all. So again, hope everybody having a safe weekend, joyous and safe Saturday, Sabbath Shalom to most people out there, you all. Again, so stay safe this weekend, stay prayed up, and try to resolve different conflicts in better ways, try to come up with better ways to settle disputes, you all. This was the main topic for tonight, and I wish everybody a blessed and happy weekend. Peace. Thank you.